Good morning. We welcome all of you, whether you're in the sanctuary, on Zoom, or later on YouTube. I invite you now to recite the mission statement. Together, Unity of Charlotte is a place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. If you're here for the first time, welcome. We want to let you know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. If you're here for the first time as well, you should have received a visitor packet. If not, we'll make sure you have one before you leave. And if you're online, we're asking you to drop your information in the chat so that we can get a packet to you as well. You can also find out more about Unity of Charlotte in many ways. Check us out on our website, newsletter, Facebook, YouTube, where you can subscribe, Instagram, and Bluesky. You can also check us out on our bulletin board since we're not able to cover all the announcement here in the service. So I invite you to gently close your eyes and turn your focus inward. Let's begin this prayer time centering ourselves at our heart center. Centered here, we claim the presence of divine love, the very essence of God, flowing in and through all that is. This love is unconditional, without limit, without condition, without end. It unites all things in harmony and wholeness. We affirm now that this love is the truth of our being. It heals, it restores, it reconciles, it uplifts. In loving presence, the appearance of separation dissolves, and we experience our oneness with all living beings. Today, we live from this truth. Love is my power. Love is my guide. Love is my wholeness. And so it is. I invite you to speak a name aloud, followed by a silent prayer. I'm now going to ask you to join me in the unity prayer of oneness, and we can speak this aloud together. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good omnipotence. We'd also like to let you know that we have a prayer team, and you can find the links on our website or newsletter to send in a prayer request or use the prayer box outside the chapel. You can also connect with Silent Unity via the app, Be Unity, or the phone number that's listed on the screen. And now I'll ask Sean to do the daily word reading.
The daily word for Sunday, October 12th is worthy. All people are worthy as children of God. It can be easy to look at others and see differences, the things that tend to keep us separate. I may even make judgments about their worthiness. But each person is so much more than their appearance, habits, and histories. Today I commit to treating others as I would want them to treat me. As the divine beings they are, I will look beyond appearances, put aside any judgments, and open my heart to others. I will treat all others as individuations of the divine and beloved members of the human family. As I do this, I feel differences and separation fall away. I behold our similarities and feel a new kind of kinship, one born out of respect and acceptance. All people are one in God, and each is worthy of inclusion and belonging. And then from Romans chapter 8, verse 16, it is the very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. Thank you.
We have a special guest today, Reverend Dan Beckett. Reverend Dan Beckett is passionate about helping each person awaken their innate ability to create a joyous, abundant, and meaningful life through faith, community, and service. He serves as a minister at Unity of the Midlands in Columbia, South Carolina, and is also a spiritual director, certified firewalking instructor, master prosperity teacher, business owner, and former faculty member of Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute. Rooted in Christian mysticism and enriched by the philosophy and practices of Mahayana Buddhism, his mission is to guide spiritual seekers in discovering their unique path to wholeness and true freedom of mind, body, and spirit. Help me welcome Dan Beckett.
Thank you and good morning. Now, it's been a while since I've been here at Unity of Charlotte. So who was here last time I spoke, which was in the other building? All right. Yeah. Well, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. So one thing I learned in my ministry travels is there is no such thing as a Sunday off. When somebody asks me to speak, I say yes first, and then when and where after that. It's just a way that I've learned to answer the call of Spirit. Now, I understand your theme this month is growing through love, or is it beyond this month, the theme right now? And that's what I've titled my message. And I want to talk about what that might mean for us and how we could grow through love even more so than we do. Today we remember that love is the way that God grows us. It is, in essence, the medium in which we move and exist and live and have our being, and in which we grow. We know from the scripture, 1 John, God is love. And in our Unity 12 Powers framework, the power of love is the power to attract and desire and unify. It is, in a sense, the glue that brings all things and binds all things together, calls all things, draws all things, and binds all things. So I want to share about growing through love with a garden parable. So think of a garden and your life as a garden with soil and seed and the gardener. So in that parable, the soil is us abiding in love. In the Gospel of John, we read, "As the Father has loved me," says Jesus, "so I have loved you. Abide in my love." That's a strong invitation, a strong request that we love the way that was demonstrated by the master teacher, by our way shower, Jesus. And to abide here meaning to stay rooted in divine love. To let everything that we do come from that place, to always remember that that is who and what we are, and to live from that space. Now, as you may know, who's a gardener? I'm not a gardener. My spouse is a gardener, so I've watched gardeners. So as you know, and even those of us who only watch gardening know, you don't force things to grow in a garden, right? What do? Instead, we create the conditions through which things grow naturally. And in a sense, if there's a flower in my garden, I could say, I grew this flower. Well, I didn't really grow it, but I created the conditions under which it grew. So in that sense, yes, I made it so. And maybe others who don't know how that works would have a harder time doing it, but I can't say that I grew it. I allowed it to grow. I created the conditions under which it could grow. And that's how I think we grow in the divine love that we swim and live in. And as you know, in a garden, you can't force things to grow. Like if you want a flower tomorrow and you haven't planted flowers, you might have to wait a while. And you can't go and pull on plants to make them grow faster. That doesn't help at all. In fact, it hurts it, right? We have to create the conditions and then allow things to unfold naturally in the Spirit. So love is the environment for transformation, and divine love is unconditional. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore taught us that love is the great harmonizer and healer again. So a daily practice that we can do, and I'm big on practices. When I first discovered unity, which was a revelation to me, my history was, as a child, I would say my family was vaguely Lutheran. And I say that because wherever we lived, and we moved a lot, my mom would find whichever church nearby where she liked the minister, she told me when I asked, how did you find a church? And so I was not invited as a kid, but pretty much required, voluntold. Is that how it is? Forced, perhaps, didn't have a choice in the matter of going to church. And I did not really like it. Being a painfully shy child was bad enough. So put me in an environment with people I don't know who all of a sudden want to look at me and talk to me, and I can't go hide in the corner. That didn't help. That didn't help. But also I noticed that as a quiet kid, I was a very observant kid. I would read what was going on in an environment. That was one way that I had apparently come up with to create personal safety for myself. And I noticed that what was being said didn't match with the energy I was reading below it. Now, I don't fault any of the particular people who were there at that time. I know that they were doing the very best that they could. But even me at 8 years old noticed that disconnect, so that meant I did not trust what I was hearing because it didn't jive with the energy that was underneath it. And again, that's not to say that what they were saying held no truth. It's just that they didn't believe it as far as I could tell at that time. And I wondered why. And older me thought, as I kind of re-entered the world of the spiritual, which I left for a long time, that if what I'm saying is so true, why am I so worried about it? What am I so worried about? Right? If God is love and I abide in love and I am that love, then why am I worried? Why do I have an agenda? Why do I look like I'm freaked out if you don't believe me? Right? That's one thing I liked about unity is I quickly discovered that unity was an invitation to a path, the journey, a lifelong journey. And I could choose that, just as the song said, love's my decision. I could choose to follow that path if I wanted to. But no one was making me do it. No one was saying, oh, if you don't do it, this or that's going to happen. Now that is something that worked for this introvert. And that's the path that I followed. So daily practices are important to me. Let me put some, where's the rubber meet the road? That's a nice idea, and I do like ideas. But so what does that mean for me? How do you do that? And one daily practice that we can do is to affirm, and do this however it is that you do your own spiritual practice. I rest in love, and love rests in me. So if that resonates for you, I rest in love, and love rests in me. And you can feel a shift inside yourself, perhaps. And I felt it just now in a time of quiet as you affirm these things. That is a daily practice that you can take up if you would like to. Now, moving from the soil, that's sort of the environment the love that we abide in, to the seed. The seed is our core identity and our intention. There are two things going on there, I think. The divine seed already contains everything in potential. That's another thing I learned early in the unity way of seeing. The unity way of seeing is actually just a mystic's way of seeing. It's very, very old. All right, it goes back, every religious tradition that there is has its mystic branch to it. In Islam, that's Sufism, if you know about that. In Judaism, it's Kabbalah. In Christianity, we don't have a word for it. It's just Christian mysticism. And that's my path. From that point of view, we know that the divine seed already contains all potential. It was another thing that made sense to me when I first encountered this idea, is that I and you don't have to go out and get something you don't have. You have to remember something you forgot. Right? You have to rediscover what you always have been, but have lost somehow or other. So in that way, that idea in the Christian doctrine, the Christian tradition, so-called fall of humanity, I can understand that in that that's the moment I forgot who I was. I made a choice other than to choose and live from my divinity. Now, we all do that for some reason or other. We humans do that. Psychiatrists, psychology can tell us why we do it. There are tools that we can use to recover that knowledge, and what we're doing here today is one of them. So I invite you to think of your spiritual life as recovering the power to choose your divinity in you. You know, addiction can be defined as the loss of the power to choose, right? When some substance or behavior has us and we can no longer choose it, we're doing it whether we want to or not. That's what addiction is. So addiction recovery is recovering the power to choose. So I invite us all to recover the power to remember who we are and to live from that place, from our divine identity. So that is who we are at our very core. The other piece of this is our intention. And again, back to the Daniel Nahmod song. I choose love. I set the intention to see it everywhere that I go. Now, an intention is an odd thing. When I first encountered it, when I first had spiritual teachers suggesting to me that I set an intention, I thought that seems like a pretty quiet and weak thing to do. Like, what is that going to do? For one thing, it's within myself. And what does that even mean, set an intention? Do I say something in my head? I've learned over time it's more of a shift. You can feel it more than anything. I mean, you could say something in your mind to begin that process, but we know if we set an intention. And the good news about an intention is if you set an intention in the morning and later you realize you forgot about it, just come back to it. It's okay. You're allowed to start over anytime. So we set an intention. Our purposeful intention focuses the growth of our identity, of our seed in our garden, if you will. Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore said, "Let love fill your heart and it will radiate through your whole being." She is there set, when she said, let love fill your heart, set that intention. I set the intention to let love fill my heart. And what happens? It does. And it radiates through our whole being. And if you forget, you realize you're not radiating so much as you were before, that's okay. You can always return. You haven't lost anything. You can always return to it. It's just like our mindfulness meditation practice, the simplest breath awareness meditation. What do? We sit quietly. We place our attention on our breath, however it is we do that. And when our attention wanders, which it likes to do, when I realize it's wandered, what do? I return my attention to my breath. What it took me a while to realize is the returning is the practice. Myself, and like many of us who learn a meditation like that, I don't know where we get this. What movies? Did we watch Kung Fu on TV as a kid growing up? Where do we get this idea that I'm supposed to make my mind like turn off and my thoughts stop? I invite you to consider that's not what meditation is. Meditation is a practice of awareness, so we notice what our mind is doing. We're not trying to control it. You're not trying to stop it. You're not trying to make it do this or make it do that. By returning our awareness to our breath over and over and over again, 1,000 times in 10 minutes, if that's what you need to do, we are training our mind to pay attention to what we decide, not to whatever is going on. So in a sense, we're recovering the power to choose what we focus on. I had a teacher that that defined unity in a fun way. He said, unity is like a 12-step program for humans, because we're addicted to who we think we are, because we have forgotten how to choose our divinity, how to choose otherwise. So our sitting practice, a simple breath awareness meditation, contains the very seed of everything we ever need to know. You know, there are dozens and dozens of spiritual practices. You don't need a dozen spiritual practices. I'd say you need one core practice, maybe a second one, and focus on that. I had a teacher that said if you want to strike water, you have to dig one 200-foot well, not 10, 20-foot wells. So pick something and keep coming back to it. Keep coming back. That's where the growth is in for us. So let love fill your heart and it will radiate through your whole being. We set that intention. Now, there is a pitfall to this, and you may notice that we cannot grow peace from seeds of resentment or anger. That makes our work in this world quite difficult. Because while it sounds simple, I turn my awareness within, I rediscover my divinity, and then I live from that place, and really it's a process, right, over time. If I had to wait until I was completely recovered from my addiction to who I think I am, before I could do anything in the world, I'd be waiting a very, very long time. So the truth is, we do our inner work, then we step out in service. Right? We do literally just like our breath. We breathe in and we breathe out. We do our inner work, our inner healing, then we step out in service. Now, the more inner healing work we do, the more effective we will be in service to the world. Because if I step out to serve the world from my dysfunction, I'm merely going to spread that dysfunction. So I want to minimize that as much as possible. I want to spread the divine love that's within me, that is me. And so I let that be the core of my practice. And again, we breathe in, we breathe out. We do our inner work, we step out in service. We make a mistake, we acknowledge it. We move in, we move out. It's okay. It's just like the meditation. It took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize that when my attention wandered, I didn't do anything wrong. Right? There's a real temptation to say, I screwed up, I did it again. That's not what it's about at all. And I had a teacher that would describe it thus: place your awareness on your breath. When you notice that your mind has wandered, return your awareness to your breath without judgment. Such a simple phrase, without judgment. I was like, oh, of course, without judgment. Who would have judgment? That's so silly. Except I was doing it all the time, right? The stuff takes time. So if you're feeling like maybe even if you feel like you're a beginner, that might be the best place to be. Beginner's mind, like the famous book. So here's a practice that you can do. We call it a forgiveness practice. I love the phrase, we release all that no longer serves us. That, in a sense, is a forgiveness practice. A forgiveness practice is a practice of releasing, because often the things that we carry that no longer serve us are resentments toward others. Like, I noticed that nobody has resentments to a tree or a squirrel, right? It's almost always another person. Always another person. So when we recognize that, we practice forgiveness by first, awareness has to come first. I can't forgive something I don't even know that I'm carrying. Right? So you can literally get out a piece of paper and make a list. It can be your private list. You can shred it when you're done, so nobody needs to see what you write. You make a list of every resentment you can think of, and that list will get long if you're honest about it, if you really dedicate yourself to it. And that becomes your forgiveness inventory. And if you're new to this practice, I invite you to choose something relatively minor on that inventory, not the biggest thing, not the traumatic things that may have happened to you in your life, but something relatively lightweight, whatever it might be. And do an affirmative prayer around that person. It's always a person. And my suggestion for that prayer is, you see that person surrounded by all the things that they love best. This works with anyone. And if you don't know them well enough to know the things they love best, that's okay. Substitute the things that you love best. That works. And just hold that vision. Whether that's, the person and then you see a glowing light around them, whatever it is that you need to do. You see them surrounded by all the things they love best, and then move on with your business. If you do that enough, it will start to lighten that resentment that you're carrying. Because you may have 1,000 friends that agree with you that you're right and that other person is awful or whatever. That doesn't help you to grow in the Spirit, right? That doesn't help you to recover your divine identity. What does help you is acknowledging that, well, even though I can make a case for why that is true, I release what I'm holding on to, right? That poison, if you will. Like a resentment, what do we say? That's like drinking poison hoping the other person's going to die, right? Let's move to the gardener, right? The gardener prunes and nourishes in your garden of life. So loving boundaries, healthy boundaries, and honest self-examination are acts of love. So that inventory, that's an act of honest self-examination. Everything begins in awareness. So we ask of ourselves, what thought or story no longer serves me? We talk about that, releasing that which no longer serves us. What am I carrying that no longer serves me? That resentment list, there's your to-do list for that. And what habits do I have that might be blocking the flow of divine love in me? Habits of mind, usually they could be things like eating habits. They could be, if you have any active addictions, they could be those things. Because they could be physical stuff, they could be modes of thinking or patterns of thought. But what is it that I'm doing? What do I do habitually, so without really thinking about it, that's blocking divine love in me or my greater awareness of divine love? So we can grow our love awareness, grow our love expression through things like gratitude, which can be as simple as creating a gratitude list. All these things are very, very easy to do. The only question is, am I actually doing any of them or not? You could make a gratitude list. You could do your sort of forgiveness inventory, which is resentments, but also set that aside and make what am I grateful for? I had a teacher once, was having a hard time. I called and he said to me, I want you to make a gratitude list. So this is old school, on paper with a pen, not on the computer or your phone. On paper with a pen, it makes a difference. And put 30 things on that list, and hung up on me. Like, fine, I'll do it. So how on earth am I going to come up with 30 things? It just seemed it's going to take all day, right? So it's nothing, and then just out of desperation, I'd be like, well, I like these shoes. For that, I'm grateful for these shoes. I like breathing. I'm grateful that I can breathe. And then you start to look at really simple things just around you. It's like I have food in my house. Oh, I'm grateful for that. I have a roof over my head. Really, in any given moment, I pretty much have everything that I need. My mind forgets that. My mind gets ahead of myself. Says, well, but what if something happens and you don't have what you need? Okay, now I'm in the land of what if. I'm making that up. So I made my 30 things, so very happy that I made my 30 things. Called my teacher back and said, I have my 30 things, thinking maybe he'd ask me to read them. He says, now make it 100. And hung up. And I did make it 100. So a gratitude list can be fun like that. Once you get on a roll, everything starts pouring in and it shifts your awareness, right? That's what we're doing, is it not? We're shifting our awareness. stepping out in service. I heard someone say once that they were a member of the Secret Service, which means they would go out in the world and do acts of kindness that nobody could possibly know that they had done. You know, they're not trying to take any credit for it. You can't go do your act of secret service and then put it on Facebook what you did, because then it's not secret anymore, right? Leave it secret. It could be anything. I remember early on, and this dates me. I've been around a little while. Remember when vending machines, you'd put coins in them and they had a little coin return? Just go put some money in the coin return and just wait and watch. Somebody's going to buy something, or some curious kid's going to look in there. You'd think they won the lottery. They found a quarter in there. You know, it costs you almost nothing, yet it creates such an experience of joy in someone. Or walk down the street, again, in the 80s, putting coins in parking meters. Secret service, nobody knows. The expired ones, I mean, maybe save somebody getting a ticket. Well, you can probably think of many ways you can do secret service. It could be anything at all. And I invite you to do that. And again, just do one thing. You don't have to dedicate your whole life to it all day, every day. But pick, when it occurs to you, do something nice for another person and they have no idea what you did or who did it. And another way I would call spiritual companionship, just being present to another person. This one is hard. So they teach this in ministerial school, but you don't walk out of ministerial school an expert at this. This is a lifelong practice. They don't only teach it in ministerial school. But I invite you to take this practice up as well. It can go by a lot of names, called active listening. So what I'm doing is I'm setting myself aside. So if there are any therapists, you know what this is. I set myself aside and I witness someone else's experience. You can do this anywhere. Anytime someone is talking to you. So much of the time when we're in so-called conversation, we're just waiting for our turn, right? So I can say, oh yeah. Someone says, I love going to the mountains on vacation. Oh yeah, my family went to the mountains all the time. We went here, we went there. Where did you go? Oh yeah, I've been there too. See how that's all about me? Instead of that, they say, oh, I love to go to the mountains on vacation. Oh, really? What is that like? Oh, well, it's like this or that. Where do you go? We go to this town or that town. Maybe I grew up in that town. Not relevant. It's not about me. Right? It's about them. What's your favorite thing about that town? How long have you been going there? Is this a tradition that you started, or had your family done this when you were a kid? What was it like then? What's changed about that place, have you noticed? See these open questions? I have no idea what the answer is. I have no way of knowing. That is me showing up for someone else's experience and just letting it be their experience, not a springboard for my story. Right? So I call that spiritual companionship. As a spiritual director, that is the core practice. So when I am working with a directee, that person is just sharing whatever it is. There's no agenda. There's no to-do list. The person talks about whatever it is that is on their mind, and I witness that experience with them. And I mostly say nothing, but if I'm going to say anything, it's going to be an open-ended question that rises from within me, which I can only do if I keep setting aside my, oh yeah, I've been there. Oh yeah, my family did that too. Just set all that self-centered stuff aside and let a question arise, a question that I can't possibly know the answer to, that the Spirit is telling me might assist this person on their journey. So I have no agenda for it. So that you just have to do. But that's some ways to do spiritual companionship. Just set yourself aside, let someone else share their experience, and don't wait for your turn. Just be there with them. It takes practice. So this is a way that I have learned, well, I'm going to say recently, in the last few years, to choose the path of love rather than something self-centered. So as the gardener in your own life, you can look for ways to choose the path of love rather than maybe what you would have done before, whatever that is, and make a spiritual practice out of that. So again, the Spirit in you is the teacher. I've heard that so many times from so many teachers. The teacher is within you, right? I'm just the facilitator. I'm standing here to remind you who you already are. Remind you of what you already know and may have forgotten or may have remembered. Right? The teacher is within you. Everything you ever need, you will find within you. That's why our practices are constantly turning within. Now, the trap on a path like ours is that we can err on the side of self-centeredness. Because if the answer to everything is turning within, can you see how I could get out of balance by only looking within? Leave me alone. I'm looking within. Yeah, I don't care what's going on in your life. This is all about me. That's not true. Right? That's how we could. So watch for that. There are always traps and tricks on any spiritual path. And on this kind of spiritual path, the trap is self-centeredness. Right? If I have an outward view of God, a primarily, no one has a completely external, but a primarily external view of God, I might excel in service to the world, right? I might be doing for others, and how am I out of balance? I'm ignoring what's going on in me. I'm avoiding this difficult inner work by staying busy and doing things for other people, thinking that's my path. So we all can get out of balance, each in our own way. Each in our own way. It's like the wisdom of the flight attendant. My aunt lives with us now. She's 85 years old. She was a flight attendant for, I got to do some math, from 1960 to 2012. It's the only job she ever had. One job. Isn't that wild? And she got to fly all over the place. She was working first class, from Miami to London or from LA to Honolulu. She stick around long enough. And inevitably, if you've been on a plane, you've encountered the wisdom of the flight attendant where they say, in the event of cabin depressurization, what do you do first? Put your mask on yourself. Why? Because it's all about me? No. So that I can then be of service to the person next to me. Right? And then assist the person next to you. It doesn't say put on your own oxygen mask first and then pray for the person next to you. It's like, hey, the teacher's within them. It's not my job. Good luck. No, of course not. We don't do that. We recognize that the Spirit is with them and we assist physically, like be helpful after we've done our inner work. So I'm going to close with this. This is a call to action. So this week, if you can, plant one seed, right? It's a love intention, you can call it. I leave it to the teacher in you to show you what that might be. Prune one thing, right? A habit or an old story in your mind. And nourish one relationship. A concrete act of kindness, not just a mental act of kindness, but a concrete act of kindness. And I have a few short affirmations. I will say them and then let's all repeat them together and then we'll move into our meditation. The first one is, I abide in divine love. Together. I abide in divine love. I grow with grace. I grow with grace. Love harmonizes my thoughts, words, and actions. Love harmonizes my thoughts, words, and action. Now take a breath. Let's move into our time of meditation. So I invite you to simply become still, both within and without. Both feet on the floor, ideally. You can feel the bottom of your feet on the ground. Just notice it. This is a practice of noticing. It's deceptively simple. The reason we say close your eyes, and you don't have to, some traditions say a downward gaze, look at a spot on the floor in front of you. You can do that too. But the reason we do that is to make it easier for us to bring our attention within. Take away the visual, it's a little bit easier to notice what's transpiring within. So as you sit, notice how it is with you in this moment, particularly with your physical self. We often carry tension that we're not aware of. Yet if you choose to notice, you will become aware of it. So checking with your shoulders. What's going on with your neck? What's going on with your jaw? Or your brow? And if you notice tension anywhere, simply release it. It's easy once you see it. And after you've checked in with your physical self, I invite you to bring your awareness to your breath. That just means notice the experience of breathing. How does it feel? That's it. So let's notice it for a few in-breaths and out-breaths now. And next we set the simple intention of returning to our breath whenever we realize that our attention has wandered. And that is what it does. That's what minds do. That's its job. So if your mind wanders, it's just doing its job. It's not a problem. But when you notice, then choose to bring your awareness back to your breath gently, without judgment. There is no problem. And do this over and over. So simple, yet not easy. So let's rest together in this stillness that is always within us, returning to it over and over again, as many times as necessary. Knowing that the entire time, no matter what, all is well. All is well. I invite you to remain in this place. I'm going to close our meditation with a Buddhist prayer. Prayer for the welfare of all beings. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. And may my practice, may our practice be of benefit to all. We affirm this together here now. We pray this, if you will, in the name and the nature of the living Christ's presence, the divine presence within each and every one. We speak this word and we allow it to be so. And because we allow it, then so it is. Amen and amen. Thank you, God.
We now get to experience the incredible power of giving and receiving. It is your very presence and generous gifts you offer that feed the vitality of this community and allow us to continue to love, grow, and serve each other and our world. Consistent giving can be done in many ways. By the donation button, you can text it to give to the number that's on your screen, bill pay, or using the QR code. So I ask you at this moment to hold your gift in your hands and join me in our offertory blessing. Together, just give the divine presence, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. We are light, love, power, and presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.